What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Doc Sports YouTube channel. My name is Sean Barnard, and I am back with you with some Survivor picks for Week 8. We are now through 7 weeks of the NFL season. It's just flying by, and we are starting to see the full separation between the teams that mean business and the teams that just don't quite have it this year. So before we get fully into this week, I would like to remind you guys that you can get $60 worth of free member picks at the top of DocSports.com. That's docsports.com. So make sure to log on to the website, check that out. They got everything you need there for all your betting needs. You can check out my written work for some more in-depth picks on each of these teams that I'm going to talk about, as well as every game around the NFL. So make sure to check that out. And they've got that as well as baseball, football, college football, everything that you could possibly want. So make sure to check that out at Doc Sports. That's docsports.com. Now, before we get into the Week 8 picks, let's take a little look back at Week 7. Favorites went 8-6 overall, straight up, but just 6-8 against the spread. The biggest upset of the week was the Carolina Panthers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Won that game 21-3, despite being 13-point underdogs when kickoff finally came, and plus 550 on the money line. Pretty impressive there. The other kind of notable upsets: the Jets +3 took down the Broncos 16-9. Seahawks +7 took down the Chargers 37-23, and the Bears +7.5 beat the Patriots 33-14. Of course, on Monday Night Football. Now let's look ahead to Week 8 and what we got going on. I'm going to give you guys two picks that I think are fairly slam dunk easy looks, and two that I think are a little more in depth, as well as three games that I think you're better off avoiding for your Survivor Pool picks. Start off with number one. I have the Philadelphia Eagles over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Eagles come into this matchup as 11-point favorites, coming off the bye week, still 6-0 and looking to keep that season undefeated. The biggest point of this matchup, I believe, comes down to Kenny Pickett and the Eagles defense. Kenny Pickett is coming off a 3-interception performance against the Dolphins. That's the second time this year that he's thrown 3 interceptions a game in just 4 games of action. And then coming in facing Eagles defense, which right now leads the league in forced turnovers, just seems like a recipe for disaster for the rookie quarterback. So the momentum of the Eagles has kind of slowed because of that bye week. I think they're going to come out ready to make a statement. They're going to continue to carry the criticism of not playing anybody legitimate, but you can only beat who's in front of them, and I expect that to be the Steelers this week. Moving on to number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills over the Green Bay Packers. Bills coming into this as 11.5-point favorites. These guys seems to be falling a little bit in the Green Bay Packers organization right now. You can see Aaron Rodgers doesn't look to have it, doesn't have the chemistry with the wide receivers. Rodgers is averaging a career low 22.81 pass yards per game. I've never seen that from him, and he just doesn't seem to have that magic and capability of just pulling a team into a win like he typically does. Packers are coming off a 23-21 loss to the Commanders, who the Commanders are a fine football team, but that is a game that the Packers should be winning, and a missed opportunity there. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Bills, who just look like everything everyone expected and more so far this year. Josh Allen, in comparison, is averaging 330 pass yards a game. He's thrown for 17 touchdowns with just 4 interceptions to start this year. So firmly finds himself in the MVP mix as everyone expected, and they've really answered the call and more, look to be everything complete and just the better team on both sides of the football. Next up, a little bit sneakier pick, the Thursday night matchup. The Ravens, just 1.5-point favorite over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tom Brady just looks straight up human at this point, and he doesn't seem to have the same kind of everything about him, the allure, the connection, the chemistry within his team. Things just aren't clicking within the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've got a banged up offensive line, some injuries to wide receivers, and this is a game that they're just vulnerable. Coming off that loss to the Panthers, they look like a bad football team, and I expect that to continue on short rest, a quick turnaround. It's going to be a difficult matchup. This is only the 13th time in Tom Brady's career that he's the underdog at home, and that's for a reason. The Ravens rank 5th in rushing. Gus Edwards is really starting to get going, coming off a 2-touchdown performance. I think the Ravens are going to ground and pound and find a way to win this game, and unfortunately, things are looking scarier and scarier for Tom Brady. So I feel confident about the Ravens in this matchup and expect them to get the win in primetime. Next up, I have the Falcons over the Panthers. Falcons come into this as 4.5-point favorites. I don't feel confident going in about the Falcons every week, so this might be a matchup that's worth jumping on and taking advantage of. The Panthers, like we said, coming off that impressive victory over the Buccaneers, in which they put up 21 points, looked pretty impressive. PJ Walker looked pretty good, but I think that might be the high point of their season. That might be the big moment. So I think it's kind of a downhill, a little bit of a letdown. That emotional high starts to wear off. Looking at this Falcons team, they won 3 of their last 4 prior to last week. Carolina is 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 matchups against the Falcons. The Falcons are a decent football team. They've impressed me and been better than I expected. And I think the Panthers are going to continue to bottom out. They obviously traded Christian McCaffrey. It's a very much a surprise they got that win last week, and I think that they're due for a letdown. So I think the Falcons are a smart play here. As far as games, I think you're better off avoiding. I'll lead off with I have the Seahawks versus the Giants. I don't think anybody is sure what either of these teams are yet. For starters, the Giants coming in 6-1. They've won their last 4 games and really just haven't looked that good through any stretch, despite the impressive record. Saquon Barkley's been about the only consistent point in that offense to show. Daniel Jones has been inconsistent. The wide receiver play has been all over the place, but they just find ways to win. But they're going to be tested against a Seahawks team who's also exceeded expectations. The Seattle's averaging 26.1 points per game, which is 5th in the NFL. Geno Smith answered every call and more. I really don't know what to expect in this game. This is going to be kind of a statement for both teams, as much as that is a surprise at this stage in the season. But I do think this is a game that's going to mean something for both these teams and their outlook for the season moving forward. Next up, I have the Cowboys versus the Bears. The Cowboys come in as 10-point favorites in this one, and I think that is a high spread for this game. The Bears look solid amid kind of the quarterback frenzy of the New England Patriots. We saw Mac Jones obviously coming into play. We heard the Bailey Zappi chance and finally getting his chance. Mac Jones attempted just 6 passes before making the sub into that game. And really, they didn't get strong enough quarterback play from either guy. That's going to be an interesting storyline to watch. But amid all that, the Bears quietly put together a very effective game. Their rushing game, I think, is the biggest point of emphasis in this game and what worries me the most looking at the matchup. The Bears are leading the NFL in rushing yards per game with 181 on the ground. The best way to neutralize Micah Parsons and that Cowboys pass rush is by keeping the ball on the floor. So look for them to run the ball, look for them to take advantage of that. And I think this is going to be a game that is going to be within striking distance throughout. Next up, I have the Jaguars versus the Broncos. This is the Sunday morning game out in London. Both these teams come in on 4-game losing streaks, so maybe flying overseas will change the mojo. Russell Wilson still battling a hamstring injury, and his status is a little bit unclear. Not sure if he's going to be able to go or not. He apparently was doing workouts up and down the aisle during the flight, so who knows? That guy's going to try and play. I don't know if it's a great thing for the Broncos, even if he does play, considering how he's looked so far to start the season. Broncos have scored just 2 touchdowns in their last 14 quarters of football, so not intriguing there. I lean toward the Jaguars getting the win just because they're a team that's shown some signs of life this season. Their offense has had some really positive moments, but they've really kind of struggled these past few weeks, and this is a game where both teams need to get back on track, but have plenty of reason for pessimism as well. So overall, I think you should avoid those 3 games. I think the Falcons are kind of the value play if you were looking at that, but other than that, wish you guys the best of luck this weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe on the channel. Comment what you think. Let me know if you're rocking with the picks or anything else you think's better. And we'll talk with you guys next week.